I wish you could smell this. This is a honeyberry buckle made with lemon streusel. And I've got a lemon glaze that is in the refrigerator waiting for this to cool down a bit before we add it. Let me show you how I did it. Today, I'm going to be making something totally different. These are honeyberries. And these are growing in my berry bush. So we've got honeyberries that we're going to use in place of blueberries. And we are going to make a honeyberry buckle. All right, I've got a pan. It is a stoneware pan. And it is about an 8x8, 9x9 pan. I am going to put in a piece of parchment. And I did go ahead and I put an oil spray on top of there. I've got my oven heating up to 375. So we're going to prepare the streusel first because we want this to be cold before we put it into the batter of the buckle. Okay, to begin, I've got a medium-sized bowl. I've got 4 tablespoons of butter, and we're going to get this butter melted. Now, I'm going to melt mine on the stove. You could melt it in a microwave. While my butter is melting, I went and got a nice lemon. This has been cleaned. You could get an organic lemon, but I'm not going to bother with it. I did use a type of fruit and vegetable wash on here to clean this up. So we want to zest this medium-sized lemon, and we also need a half of a cup of cake flour. We're going to need, I've got that right here, a half of a cup of granulated sugar. Now this is cane sugar, and then a 1/4 of a teaspoon of some kosher salt. So let's continue on getting this all zested while our butter is melting. I got my lemon zested and I went ahead and cut it in half. I'm going to be making a glaze with some of the lemon juice and a little bit of the zested lemon later with some powdered sugar. But for the time being, we're going to put that aside. All right, so my butter is melted. So we've got our zested lemon. We're going to take a tablespoon. I'm going to put that in another bowl. And what's ever left, I'm just going to set that aside to go with the lemon juice later. So right now, we're just working on the streusel. We've got our sugar and our lemon zest, and we're just going to put this together and kind of just mush this into each other. You want it to be like a wet sand, basically. So we're just going to get this all mushed together, the lemon zest and the sugar, and we'll get this nicely put together. This is going to be added flavor with that lemon. Now our honeyberries are already tart a little bit. They do taste like blueberries, but they're not as bland. So there's a little bit of tartness to the honeyberries. And like I say, you go right ahead and you can make this with regular blueberries, but I'm going to do something different with my honeyberries. This is my first year that I've actually had a decent crop, you could say, of them, so it's time to make something with them. All right, so that's looking mighty fine. Just kind of get it all together in there. All right. Next, we're going to add the cake flour into our bowl. And then we're going to add in our lemon sugar. And we need that 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to mix that all together. Once we get it mixed together, we're going to add the butter, the melted butter, to the flour, sugar, and salt with lemon. All right, that looks pretty good. And now we want to add our melted butter. I'm just going to pour that in. And we want to stir this until no flour is remaining. Be like something like that. And once that is ready, we're going to put this in the refrigerator to chill. And that's why we prepared the streusel first. Now sometimes people make a streusel with oatmeal and brown sugar, and that's not what we're doing today. Okay, so it's just going to look something like this, and we are going to put it in the fridge because we want it to crumble. Now we can begin the batter for the buckle. And in order to make that, I've got 2 1/4 cups of cake flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder. We're just going to add the dry ingredients together. And I've got 1/2 of a teaspoon of kosher salt. So what we want to do is we want to take those and just get those whisked together first. And this is about a small to a medium-sized bowl. We do have other ingredients that we will be adding. So in a large bowl, we are going to put, after that's whisked together, I've got 6 tablespoons. It's supposed to be unsalted butter. I don't have unsalted butter, so I'm using salted butter. 6 tablespoons. I've got them cut up kind of small so that they're easy to beat up with our beater. So we're going to take our 6 tablespoons of butter, and we are going to add our sugar. So we've got 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, and we're going to add that right to the big bowl with the butter. And we're going to get this beat up nice and mixed up. So I did have my butter sitting out for a while so that it would get soft enough, because this did come right from the freezer, so this might take a little bit longer than I anticipated. So you can see I went ahead and got my pastry blender. This is working much better than the mixer, and had I used my KitchenAid mixer, that would have worked, but I just didn't feel like getting it out. So this is working just fine. Use your hand mixer, use your KitchenAid, whatever. Get your sugar and butter mixed up any way that works best for you. And once I got that softened up well, I was able to mix it up. All right, next we are going to crack our eggs. I have 2 large eggs, and because they are farm fresh, I will crack them into a bowl separately first. Beautiful. And we're going to add 1 at a time and get this completely incorporated into the sugar and butter before we add the other one. So let's get this started. See, it's nice and liquidy. We just want to get that all completely incorporated first. A little noisy. And we want to make sure we scrape down the sides too. Dandy spatula. And just get the sides all scraped down as best you can. All right, that is just 1 egg added. Let's get our other one added and do this very same thing. And we will get this going. Next, we're going to add our 2 tablespoons of vanilla. This is 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, not tablespoons, teaspoons. I'm just going to add that in and get that all mixed in also. That all incorporated very nice. All right, so we've got the vanilla in there and our eggs are in there nice. Now we're going to take half of our flour mixture, and we are going to add about half of that to our egg mix here. A little bit more than half. All right, we're going to get that mixed up in here, and then we're going to add half of a cup of milk. You can use whole milk. I've got actually some goat's milk that we'll be adding. Half of the flour mixture is added. It's actually a little bit more than half. And now I'm going to add in that half of a cup of milk. Whichever milk you are comfortable with using. Now it is getting thick. Get that poured. All right, got my milk poured, and not very steady with it. We're going to add that right in and get that mixed in. And then we will add the rest of our flour mixture to this once this is really mixed together well. Much smoother now. Much more easier to handle. Okay, let's add that rest of our flour. And if I can't use the hand mixer, then I'll just use a wooden spoon and get the rest of it all mixed in together. But we'll see how it goes. And we are almost done with the batter of our buckle. We have yet to add our berries. So once this is all mixed up, then we will fold in our berries as to not crush them. And I'll be using a wooden spoon for that. Okay. Yummy. All right, got my blueberries here, and I'm just going to take a half of a cup at a time and just somehow get them in there. Actually, I think I'm going to use my measuring cup. It's a 2-cup measuring cup, and I'm just going to pour those in. I only want half of that. Half of the berries. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of berries. Anyways, I'm going to put half of this mixture in the mix, and the rest of it we're going to save to add in a little bit. So about half of it, and we're just going to get that folded in. Folding it in means to just cover it on top of itself. We're not squishing it, we're not mashing it, but you can see there is a little bit of berry juice coming through there. I'm just trying to get this all together without smushing it. And I think that's rather good. All right, I've got my prepared pan. Let's get that going. All right, got my pan here with the spray on the paper. They said to make a sling. I'm not making a sling, I'm making a whole sheet. So we're going to take our batter and we're just going to get it all in the pan. And we'll be adding our blueberries, our honeyberries on top of this batter. It's rather thick, kind of hard to hold on to. Okay, now I can get my rubber spatula and work a little bit easier with that. Make sure you get all of that goodness out of there. You don't want to be leaving any of that behind. We're just kind of form it into the pan, press it down in there without really injuring the berries too badly. And you all might have a better way of putting paper in a pan, but this is how I am doing it. We're just going to get the job done. Alright, once we get this pretty much even, I want to add the rest of the blueberries, or honeyberries, on top of the batter. Like I said, I want to get all this, so might be a little picky here. All right, now we can sprinkle the rest on top. Looks lovely. And you can see what that looks like with the honeyberries in the batter and on top of the batter. Now, this is the streusel that we made earlier. I went in the fridge and got that, and it is rather hard. So we're just going to take pieces of it, and we just want to sprinkle it kind of evenly all over the top of the batter and the berries. Just use your hands, get on in there. There'll be some bigger chunks and not so bigger chunks. And just rethink of all that lemon zest that we added into the streusel. It is going to be so flavorful. Even though the honeyberries have a little bit of a tartness, I think this would be wonderful. Great little dessert for the summer. It'd make a wonderful 4th of July bake if that's what you have going on. Maybe you're not from the United States. Maybe you have a different recipe that you use to make something with honeyberries. I really had a hard time finding any recipe whatsoever. And since I knew that I could pretty much substitute it for blueberries, I thought, why not just try this? I think this is going to be fantastic. Once that butter gets softened up, it's easier to move around. All right, and then we're going to get this in our oven. It's at 375, and this will take about 40 to 45 minutes, or until a toothpick comes out nice and clean. All right, while our buckle is baking, let's make some glaze. Now, do we really need a glaze? No, but I'm going to do it anyways. So we're going to use our strainer again. I'm going to put a half of a cup of powdered sugar in the strainer. And the reason I'm doing that is because it is clumpy, and we don't want a bunch of clumps in our glaze. So measure out, we're going to use a half of a cup of powdered sugar, and we're just going to put that right in here. I'm going to use the back of the spoon, of my measuring spoon, and try to just get that all nice and squished through so that it is no clumps. All right, so I'm making a mess. I wouldn't put all of it in at one time. Just do a little bit at a time. Works much easier. And just something like that. Okay, so we've got the zest left over from the buckle sitting right here. I did go ahead and juice that lemon. So that is right in the lemon juicer right here. And as soon as this is done, we will put in about a tablespoon of the lemon juice. And that's coming along very nice. Okay. And I'm just going to scrape in the rest of the zest. Get a teaspoon or tablespoon of the juice out to begin with. And if I need more, I'll add another one. You want to be able to drizzle this on. I'm going to get me a spoon to stir this. Okay. Now, if I don't have this thick enough or thin enough, I will add one or the other. That is definitely thin enough. I think I'm going to add some more powdered sugar to this and another tablespoon of the lemon juice. Okay, I got about 1/4 of a cup or so. And my dog is going to be barking because there's somebody he sees outside. All right. He's actually got a ball in his mouth so that he doesn't make so much noise. Animals, they're so intelligent. All right, so this looks like a good amount that we will put over our bake when it is time. And I think I'm just going to leave this sit out until our bake is done. Actually, I think I might refrigerate it and then let it sit out before I put it on, because I don't want it to be just melt all over it when it's done. I want the buckle to cool a little bit before I put this on. And that lemon juice, hey, pour that right into your water. I wouldn't add too much at a time. Pour that lemon juice into your water and give that a good drink down. I'll show you. You can see the little specks of the lemon zest in the glaze here. It's going to be wonderful. Well, it is done, and I must say, wow, look at that. We're going to let this cool. I'm not going to take it out of the parchment and try to take it out like that. I'm just going to let it cool in the pan, and I'll wait at least a half hour, and then we'll add that glaze. It smells fabulous. Alrighty, it has cooled for quite some time, and I took this out of the fridge. It is looking rather nice. I'm just going to drizzle it over the top here, any which way, and we'll see how it tastes. A little bit too much right there. I think I'll put it more towards the edges that there are kind of more done area. Crusty, I should say. Okay. That looks absolutely fabulous. Let's cut it and put it on a plate. Look at that. That is what it looks like. I think this came out really good. Let's have a taste. Awful big piece. Very good. You can taste that lemon glaze and the berries. It tastes like blueberries. A little bit of tang in there. So moist. Crunchy on the outside a little bit, but very moist. If you can get yourself some honeyberries, I recommend you make this. Make this with any berries that you have. And happy summer to you.